We are in the Gonglux room, and behind me is a fully single brand system. Which one? Goldnote is an Italian brand, quite an old one that makes, well, pretty much everything for great sound. By the way, I think they actually started with analog equipment, if I'm not mistaken, with high-end ones. And one of them, I believe, is still being produced today with only minimal, let's say, changes. What can I say? First of all, Andrei, hello. Thank you for inviting me. Kirill, hi. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for inviting.
You know, I just want to quickly share my impressions. We came in and played a couple of our tracks. Fortunately, we were given the chance to evaluate the material. You know, the sound was very cohesive and seamless. I always say that if you want to achieve the highest sound quality, you need to pay attention to things like the acoustics, the CD, the transport, and the amplifier. Ideally, everything should be from the same brand, because the sonic signature of the people who design all this can differ drastically. For example, if you use an amplifier from, say, well, yes, Acouphase and a preamp from, for instance, Bryston. These are different schools, different philosophies. So with this system, if a person has normal hearing, they will immediately notice that everything sounds as smooth, clear, and intelligible as possible. The sound stage is constructed very well. The vocalist sings right in the center. The bass isn't the deepest, to be honest, but it's fast and tight enough. So there are really no complaints. Rammstein, of course, could sound more confident, but I understand the Italians. It's a completely different approach.
Wait, what complaints? What complaints? Everything is just wonderful.
Wonderful. I agree.
Let's ask Andrei to talk about the DNA, about the brand's philosophy. How did it all even happen?
Exactly right. Andrei, please tell us, where am I wrong?
I think, yes, everything is correct. I agree with you. Well, your explanation is brief and not very deep, but in 1 minute you probably can't go any deeper. That's true. Maurizio Torini is the creator of this brand, and he is the only one responsible for everything. And his philosophy is all about dynamics, about energy. That's exactly why Goldnote doesn't use extremely powerful amplifiers. Instead, what they have are truly huge, oversized power supplies. There are power supplies for the decks, for the phono stages, and sometimes even two of them on the back. There are also
Separate ones?
Separate ones, yes.
That's really cool.
For example, a streamer or a DAC weighs 15 kilograms and its power supply weighs 20.
And Signor Torini's production is in Italy?
It's in Florence. Italy, of course, yes. They have a large factory in Italy. And there are tube output stages that are installed after the source, meaning after the phono stage. And those also weigh about 15 to 16 kilograms, which really seem like they're not doing anything because they don't provide any voltage gain. So 16 kilograms, a huge power supply, 12 tubes, no voltage gain, but there is current gain. And that's exactly what truly makes the signal so stable. That's precisely why we get a really good soundstage, and that's also why we get good separation and layering of voices and sound. And at the same time, there's dynamics, but it's a soft kind of dynamics, powerful yet gentle. There are no distortions here that cause shrillness.
Exactly.
Just as much as needed, and then it stops. But this acceleration of the signal rise is very fast, but it stops at the right moment, so there's no screeching.
I agree with you. I also agree that nutrition is very important. I keep saying in my videos that it's the foundation. If you don't have normal power supply, if you have low voltage, if you have some kind of blockages there,
I have normal nutrition,
then it's just not right. And regarding sound contrast, I also agree that these little details, the transitions, are really well felt in this system. What do you think, Kirill?
Well, we just got here, we just started listening.
Japanese sound.
Yeah, I'm just really curious, what actually is Sechi Design?
Sechi Design is basically another company just across the street, owned by Silvano Cremonesi, who is also the engineer. Right here, on the equilibrium stand from Sechi Design, we have a deck. It's a magnetically levitating platform, and specifically it's a platform on a single spike. It's something that doesn't change the character or spirit of the source, but it improves it. In other words, Silvano likes to say that if you love your motorcycle and want to upgrade it, you need something similar to our platforms. You won't lose its character, but it will ride more steadily and faster.
And is it Signor Cremonesi who developed the single spike design?
Yes, the thing is, this is the only design in the world. Cremonesi Silvano came up with it literally less than a year ago, but he implemented it, he came up with it earlier, which rests on one spike. So this is...
In simple terms, it's a mechanical diode. That is, it lets vibrations pass downward, but doesn't allow them to go back up. And in this way, the structure that stands on this platform is supported by the stand, by the ground, but doesn't take anything from them.
Let's take a look right now. Do these designs focus only on stands, or do they also design for companies?
No, only stands. Now they've made stands for cables, stands for equipment, and stands for wine.
The wine stands are especially interesting.
Pay attention to the quality of the acoustic finish. It's immediately clear that these are Italian craftsmen, especially from Florencia city, famous for its leather goods and in general for interesting high-end items. And this thing really is high-end. And how much do they cost? Could you tell us, please? Around 7 million. 7 million. And the whole system?
Around 15.
The whole system is 15 million. And did you win a prize? Yes, I see, right here.
Yes, we received the prize yesterday. I still haven't learned what for.
For the emotions from listening to stereo. Well, honestly, that's fair, because your system really does evoke emotions. Definitely. As I understand it, this is a modular design, right?
Yes, it comes in 3 boxes. The bottom stand, then the low frequency module, and the mid-high frequency module. They are assembled, tightened together, and connected with a cable inside.
Actually, this is absolutely the right solution, because I believe all high-end speaker systems should be decoupled, since the low frequency module transmits the most vibrations, which unfortunately have a strong impact on the high and mid frequencies.
But that's one point. And the second point, together, the whole thing weighs 200 kilograms, but separately, at least 2 people can somehow carry it.
This speaker weighs 200 kilograms, 180 and some change. That's a lot. That's really a lot. Wow, that's amazing. What other technologies can you mention off the top of your head that are used here?
Well, first of all, it was recognized as the acoustic system of the year by Mono Stereo magazine, meaning the best in the world. Well, everything here is very coherent. For example, these cutouts, the cutouts on top, there aren't any here. And the fact that this side panel and the side panels right and left have a concave diffusing shape.
To create diffraction.
Exactly right, yes. These are custom-made drivers. Actually, there's nothing particularly surprising about that.
And who manufactures them?
I don't know.
Well, they probably don't make them themselves, right?
They're custom ordered.
Got it. And on the backs, there's just this crazy looking metal panel with 2 ports.
Because this upper enclosure is open for the mid-range drivers, closed for the tweeter, and has a bass reflex ported design for the lower drivers. Since there are 2 of them, they can move the same volume of air as one large driver, but they do it fast.
Exactly right. You said it perfectly, because I'm tired of arguing in the comments with people who claim that one big driver is so much better. They say you can't compare 2 small drivers as if combining them. I believe you can. Moreover, several small drivers actually deliver bass more quickly. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Of course, they're faster. They only need to move this much. I mean, just as an example, a big driver has to move a centimeter, maybe even 2. I think that's right. And the main thing is the volume of air that's moved, the size of the wave depends on that.
Of course, of course. And thanks to the speed, we get a faster punch. It's more precise. There's none of that lingering bass, which sometimes seems really powerful to you, but is actually loose, especially at the very lowest frequencies. I completely agree with you. And tell me, please, about this interesting, I would even say creative-looking object, almost like an art piece. What is this thing?
This is a new acoustic system called Diana. It's a modular design. We have the Diana 2 and there's also the Diana 1, which looks like this. Right now, we're only talking about the part that's covered in material. Diana 1 is Diana 2. There are 2 drivers here, and this is the tweeter behind the grill.
It looks like some kind of microphone.
That's exactly what they say, a tweeter designed to look like an old microphone, see? And this is the Diana 3. So for example, someone can buy the Diana 1 for themselves. They're very inexpensive.
How much is it?
Diana 1 costs 200,000 rubles. This one is 300,000 rubles, and that one is also 300. Well, whatever. So what?
Shall we get it?
Let's get it right now.
There you go. The thing is, Goldnote is always looking for workarounds, underground paths. They know the ways beneath the surface. If you look, since we open up the equipment from time to time, we constantly find some strange sealed boxes, some odd components whose purpose is unclear. That's it. They develop in such a way that they use psychology, psychoacoustics, and those other inventions that are still not understood. Science can't explain. Well, like the bipi-pi, we have the bipi-pi, they're electricity accelerators.
What kind of things are those? No one really knows. They've been produced for about 30 years now. It's a small company. I contacted them, I wrote to them and asked, but I couldn't get an answer about how it works. They say, well, it's quantum physics. Yes, electrons start moving faster after using our device. Some well-known American physicist came up with it, didn't explain it clearly, but...
You can buy it and you can install it. And it works. Well, at least it's 158.
Agreed?
Let me finish. So, there's a material here. And the gentleman from Goldnote decided to make something very cheap. How did they calculate it? They figured that cheap means no finishing. Since Maurizio Torrini's father worked nearby and he was a world-class fabric specialist. Well, he has already passed away. So they reached out to acquaintances. They found a fabric that is used for sports car upholstery. They modified it a bit, and now Goldnote uses it for the interiors. This fabric is very dense, it lets sound through and it doesn't tear. You can wash it and it's very durable. So it turned out to be both cheap and high quality.
A truly unique invention.
And when you connect these together, instead of a stand, you get a passive subwoofer by extending it from below.
Super. And a few words about the source. They are quite technologically advanced. Take a look at the streamer, it's also a little work of art. What elite, what details. And accordingly, the logo in the form of a trumpeter, apparently from some Roman era, right?
That's Etruscan. Yes, it's a Etruscan horn, a bugle. They use this horn to gather warriors on the battlefield and to give commands to different legions.
See, pioneers were gathered with a bugle for assembly, and the Etruscans gathered their troops with this kind of horn.
I can just picture a hoplite marching and spearing someone, maybe a Persian. Super. Yeah, a competitor. And what's inside it? Does it have its own chips or some kind of matrices?
Standard ones, but it's dual mono.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Just a good DAC. We don't know much about it. We know it's dual mono, and accordingly it's good, but to make it even better, as we've already mentioned, you need a power supply and a tube output stage. It turns into a 3-block system, and that's already the highest level.
Well, Rodion would add an electron accelerator, right?
Yes, of course. A charged particle accelerator. Remember, like in the movie? Listen, that's awesome. And the company probably makes cables too, right?
Unfortunately, yes, they do make cables. I don't want to show it because it'll turn off. Here, Goldnote makes everything. I mean, there probably isn't a single thing that Goldnote doesn't make. For systems that are mid-range, a bit above mid-range, and even a bit higher than that. Well, this is not a very high level for high-end. It's still average.
Well,
a bit above average, but it depends on what people can afford, you know.
Yeah.
And they have cables as well. This is their rack. These are their cables. They have various types of speaker cables, interconnects, and power cables for tone arms, as well as also offering special ones, including Ethernet and digital cables, except for video cables.
What do you think, Kirill? You get the last word.
Why me, though? I'm planning to go to Italy. I'd love to visit the factory, see how people create things. Can you imagine accelerators, cables,
Streamers.
power supplies?
And acoustics that look absolutely stunning.
I'd also stop by across the street to see Signor Savano and check out those spikes. Just one shield.
You got interested in the wine stands. For wine?
To wrap things up, I'd personally put a prize like this on that levitating spike and say it's truly a fitting end to today's exhibition.
as always, very creative. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us, Andrei. The system really plays one of the few, there are a lot of rooms, but most of the systems usually play mediocrely. This one is good.
Let's just say this system plays magnificent.
No, it's excellent, of course.
Voila. Oh,
Vincenzo. Thank you.
Grazie mille.